does that make you think more about their chances or less?
We have a sponsor today.
Are you serious?
We have a sponsor.
You're kidding.
I'm not.
Like, are you being serious?
I'm serious. We have a sponsor.
Who?
Do you know what's not awesome? Just a quick non-sports story. It's the holidays.
Yeah.
Do you have to mail stuff?
No. Do you have a full list of Christmas cards?
UPS bested me yesterday.
Yeah.
In a way that I want to tell you about. So I had one package that was pre-labeled, ready to go, and I had another one that wasn't. I said, well, that's fine. I'll just go there. I'll drop the other one off, and I'll wait in line. The line snaked around. It was too long for the time, so I had to leave UPS. Okay. I got a photo assignment near the UPS store later in the day. I've got 35 minutes to wait in line. I go in, the line's not as bad. I've got my package. It's taken some time. People that get up there have some confusing requests. And and I say to myself in line, well, I'll get out my phone and I'll just complete the order.
Yeah.
And when I get up there, they can just smack the label on and we're good. I have to leave.
Yeah.
It is 4:00. My assignment is close, but my assignment starts at 4.
Mm-hmm.
I have to leave. It's my turn.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is going to be no problem. I go up there. I show him the thing. The kid says, oh, we can't print labels. I said, I've been standing here for a half hour. All you do is print labels.
Right.
He said, well, you completed that order online. I said, yeah. He's like, well, we can't print those. Our system is down for printing those. I was like, what?
And they couldn't cancel the order and go back in?
About? Well, now listen, I didn't push that, but I said, I have this. This you print labels.
Yeah.
You ship stuff. I have the order right here. And then that kid, who I could tell was nervous, his boss comes out from the back.
Yeah.
Mr.
Because you demanded the manager.
Mr. UPS. I hadn't, but my tone demanded manager attention. And I'm just looking at both of them in disbelief. And he goes, yeah, we can't print labels that you've completed. Our system for that has a virus that's been down for months. I was like, you're UPS. You mail stuff. I want to mail this. I bought it through your company. And then he looks at me and he goes, oh, this is the ultimate. It's like he came down from above, like the Wizard of Oz head. He was like, oh, we're not UPS. We're just a franchise of UPS. He hit me with that. And I was just like, am I in the edgeless middle of the maw of absurdity itself? Like, I turned around at the line and I was just like, I told you guys this was good theater. This is Merry Christmas. And they were much like the middle abyss that I was in commerce, we are in the middle abyss of the college football season. And the heart of the rivalry is here to get you to the safe shores through the lantern light of one David Briggs, who stands above all at 6'8", program height.
Hi!
He's our Toledo Blade columnist. I am your producer and photographer and queue waiter. I still have to go back to UPS. Yeah. I still have the package. I got to go back.
Oh, my God. Speaking of confusing
wait a minute.
orders,
We're not done yet. I haven't introduced myself as UPS line waiter professional Phil Kaplan.
And escaped inmate.
Go ahead. And
Speaking, you said confusing orders. Is there anything worse than being in the gas station? It happened to me the other day. Like 4 people in front of you. There's one clerk on duty, and the person is just going through the lottery tickets. Just take 2 of these.
Oh, that's
4 of these scratch offs, and then the person keeps going back. It's like, oh, this one. It's like, and then they're going back to get their cigarettes, and it's like, this one. Oh, sorry, we don't have this one. Oh, can I get 3 more lottery tickets? And then it's like 6 or 7.
What's your brand of smokes?
My brand?
You're
I'm a Lucky Strikes guy.
Lucky Strikes. Yeah. Okay, that checks out. Well, our sponsor does not offer cigarettes. Nor do they offer conflicting messages about who they are and who they aren't. Our sponsor is our own, the Blade Vault. We have a little script here, which I will read you. TheBladeVault.com is the Blade's online store for Blade memorabilia, like custom reprints, plaques, books, and archive requests of photos and front pages. Using the Blade's exhaustive private library, the Blade Vault can make any history a great present.
Wow.
From 1835 to today, own your story. Own your piece of history. Visit thebladevault.com. Use the code BV20 for 20% off your first order.
Love it. We're not The Blade. We're just a Blade franchisee.
We are The Blade, and the Blade Vault is the Blade.
Okay.
There is no UPS convoluted division of labor. The audience can't see it, but adorning this room is some Blade Vault material. And I know you just recently wrote about
the big Scott-Waite rivalry in the 1920s.
And
see right there.
Tell us about some of those archive photos that accompanied that story.
Yeah, you can find them all in the Blade Vault. And I think a lot of people are not pretty familiar. I think casual Toledo sports fans are familiar that Waite and Scott had a huge football rivalry back in the golden days of yore. And
not just a huge rivalry here, though. Almost a national
national rivalry, a game. It's crazy. Like whoever was covering it for the wire services, including AP, they would send that story from the annual Thanksgiving morning day game between Waite and Scott, which got 20,000+ people a year all over the country. So it was a subject of fascination. And the crazy thing is, between 1916 and 1932, Waite and Scott combined to win 6 national championships. It was back in the day, kind of before polls and before the state playoff system, where it was basically just, you had the Waite and Scott were generally the top teams in Ohio. Whoever won that game, they would kind of accept or challenge a team from one of the coasts, whether out east or west. And then they would take a 3-week train ride to Los Angeles or a train ride to Massachusetts, and they would play for what they called the National Schoolboy title. And there were some crazy stories over the years. And my favorite was in 1919, Scott wins the big Thanksgiving Day game against Waite. They go out for the National Schoolboy title game against the team from Long Beach in California. They're going to play it on Christmas Day in L.A. But unfortunately, a little game called the Tournament East-West game, which is now known as the Rose Bowl, gets in the way. The Tournament of Roses committee thinks that this game between Scott, which is known all across the country as a big football power, college football isn't that huge yet. They think the high school football game is going to upstage the Rose Bowl and take media attention away from it and interest away from it. They think that's going to get a bigger crowd. So the Tournament of Roses committee pulls some levers. They throw their weight around, which actually will become a constant theme in the next 100 years. The Rose Bowl is still the only game. They need that sunset on New Year's Day. It starts at 5 p.m. and they are not moving off it. They are still bound by tradition in good ways. But anyway, they threw their weight around. The game was called, and Toledo had to go up to Oregon to play for the national title instead. So crazy times, but bottom line is Toledo was kind of the high school football capital of the world in the roaring 20s.
Toledo's been a bunch of different capitals of the world. Before it was the
bowling capital.
It was the bowling capital. Before it was the Glass City, we were the world's premier manufacturer of bicycles. Early in the bicycle. Okay. The Gendron bicycle is a precursor of modern bicycles.
Bob Schwinn grew up in the Old West End.
Okay,
that's not true.
That is not true. But whether historically significant or significant just to you, visit thebladevault.com. There may be something there for you. But if not, you can make requests of our exhaustive library. So visit thebladevault.com. Let's get into the show proper, the heart of the rivalry.
All right.
Where we cover the college football programs of the University of Toledo, Bowling Green State University Falcons, Michigan Wolverines, and the Ohio State University. All have kind of nothing going on, but all have a little bit of news. Where do you want to start? All are bowl bound, which is great, by the way. I mean, if you're just catching up,
bowl bound. Yeah. I guess start with Ohio State. The goal now is to move on for Michigan. Maybe they haven't quite done it yet. Ohio State had the final media day on Monday, and the X's on the M's above the Woody Hayes football facility as you walk in are still X'd out. I think that's probably time to move on and look ahead, but that's neither here nor there.
Speaking of X's, wouldn't you like to see it be maybe a little bit more about X's and O's? So much about true. Ohio State is off-the-field administrative drama.
Right. Well, the administrative drama is because of the X's and O's.
Fair play.
No, I think the big story is, at least from a Northwest Ohio perspective, is Luke Montgomery, the redshirt freshman guard from Findlay.
He's going to get in there and
is
going to
get in. He's looks like he's going to get his first career start on Saturday night. And wow, what a time to break in a must-win playoff game. And obviously it's must-win, but we know it's bigger than just one game for Ohio State. So yeah, Ohio State's had some offensive line issues this year. Some woes, especially they lost their left tackle, Josh Simmons, in the Oregon game. Then they lose their All-American, best center in the country, won the Remington Award, Seth McLaughlin. He goes down the week of the Indiana game in practice. So you lose your two best linemen, and they're just kind of trying to patch it together. And we saw was real big concerns on the interior of the offensive line against Michigan. I mean, Michigan just just ate their lunch inside, and so Ohio State's trying to find a little bit of a spark.
Through Finley Trucker,
through Luke Montgomery. He's played well in reserve duty, but certainly this is. And I think he's going to start because the media was allowed to watch practice this week for 15 minutes, mostly stretching, but they did get to see one play, and in that one play, Luke Montgomery was lined up at guard, Carson Hinsman at center, and Tegra Shabola at right guard. Some people thought maybe Austin Serveld would stay at left guard and Tegra would be right guard. And now it sounds like Tegra Shabola, and now we're getting into the weeds if you're not following Ohio State football very closely. But sounds like Tegra Shabola and Austin Serveld are going to rotate at right guard, and Luke Montgomery is going to start at left guard. He initially came to Ohio State as a left tackle. But it looks like his future is going to be at left guard, at one of the guard spots. And I don't know if now is the right time to be experimenting, but clearly they're looking for a spark, and they believe in Luke Montgomery. Clearly, we in Northwest Ohio who have watched him play, we believe in Luke Montgomery.
We're ready for the Luke Montgomery experience.
And I'm fascinated to see it, especially since the strength of Tennessee is their defensive line. So, wow, what a time to debut, and
we did
go shine, young man.
We did go deep there when you start going offensive line grades.
I know. But that's kind of like
that's the X's and O's I wanted, like Dave. That's what I want. I want the real football.
That's where all everyone is talking about is the offensive line, rightfully so. So getting a little into the weeds there.
You know, the Buckeye leaf, it is a weed in some level of flora. It was a few sentiments back, but I'm going to piggyback on your All-America comment. Bowling Green Falcon Harold Fannin makes the All-America team as a unstoppable tight end, but not a unanimous All-America. Dave, would you care to elaborate?
Ridiculous. I have a vote for the AP All-America team, because somehow they allow me to vote on one of the 62 voters in the
Dave,
AP poll. Expert. Yeah, that's true. So I get to vote on All-American. I certainly voted Harold Fannin, had one of the best seasons for a tight end ever. Actually, if he plays in the bowl game, and all indications are he will have the most receiving yards by a tight end in a season in FBS history. He's the number one graded player on Pro Football Focus, which is kind of a analytics nerd site where they have former coaches and analysts grade every single play of every single player in the country. So number one overall player, offense or defense. So I actually had him number 3 on my Heisman ballot, which I know some people will think is crazy, but Tyler Warren, the Penn State tight end, and Kyle McCord got more votes than him. So I sure as hell can vote for our local guy if those guys are getting votes.
You put him third, huh? All right. Yeah. Well, who was second?
First and second, I had Travis Hunter, who did win the award, and Ashton Genty for Boise State.
Ashton Genty would have won it any other year.
Oh, absolutely. Both were absolutely fantastic. I thought the difference for me was that, Travis Hunter is just doing something we never see. We've truly never seen somebody be that good and be full-time at cornerback and wide receiver. And whereas we've seen a lot of awesome running backs over the years. And Ashton Genty was absolutely incredible, but I just kind of thought it was the same reason I voted Emmanuel, or I would have. I don't have a Cy Young vote. It was the same reason I would have voted Emmanuel Clase, the Indians closer, Guardians closer, over Tarek Skubal for Cy Young. Obviously, starters have more value, and they're always going to win the Cy Young, but Emmanuel Clase, until he imploded in the playoffs, had a historic season. But
so did Skubal. Skubal served it up.
I know. So he had a historic season that we really hadn't seen before, so that was my reasoning, and that was kind of my reasoning for voting for Travis Hunter tier 2. But anyway, we digress.
Back to Harold Fannin.
Harold Fannin Jr., a junior tight end for Bowling Green. There are 5 All-American teams that comprise what they call the consensus All-American teams. And to be a consensus All-American, you have to be named to the first team on 3 of those 5. Harold Fannin was named to 4 of those 5 teams, including the Associated Press All-American team. The one that kept him from being unanimous was the Sporting News team. And one of my buddies, Bill Bender, is the national writer for Sporting News.
Naming names.
Is on a small panel that kept our local from being a first-team All-American, and I demand that we riot, because that is total BS.
This is the first name on the HOTR riot list.
No.
Bill Bender.
But Bill Bender, they have a totally thankless job. Tyler Warren from Penn State also had a fantastic season. I can understand why some people would have him there. But Sporting News had Harold Fannin, on their first-team All-American midseason award. Not sure what would have changed, but that's why he's not going to be a consensus or a unanimous All-American. First consensus All-American in BG history. Unanimous would have been pretty crazy, but hey, he's consensus, and he got a Heisman vote from somebody. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Still pretty cool, and a great season for Harold Fannin Jr. And now, segueing again on a previous sentiment, speaking of two-way players, if I say the name Phil Alexander, does that ring any bells?
That the new Toledo player is going to be playing baseball and football?
That is Toledo's last two-way player from the early 2000s.
Oh, yeah.
The
of course.
The newest two-way player is Amari Snowden.
Yep. Coming from Wisconsin.
Coming from the portal from Wisconsin to Toledo. Do you have any thoughts on Amari Snowden's future at UT?
I don't. It'll certainly be fascinating. I know that's kind of a cool carrot for Toledo's football coaches to allow him to do both. You normally wouldn't do that unless you really believe in his ability and also just his ability to maintain that academically. I mean, imagine having 2 full-time jobs on top of your actual classwork that you're in college for. So it's fascinating. The greatest two-sport player of all time, Jim Thorpe, played for the Mud Hens, so it's perfect that
they all come from Ohio.
I know it all comes back to Toledo. So it'll the greatest football and baseball 2-sport star ever. So probably even better than Bo Jackson in his time.
Oh wow! I wouldn't. That seems sacrilege.
I know. Is he better? An Olympian. Yeah, well, Jim Thorpe had a longer career.
Shout out Bo Jackson.
All-American hero.
I hope he listens to the show.
Oh, I
imagine Bo. That's how I actually prep for the show. Is I just imagine delivering it to Bo Jackson.
Absolutely,
I do. So speaking of great talents, let's wrap up north in Michigan. They have their aircraft carrier quarterback recruit, the $10 million man, the microchip man, Larry Ellison. Now, because of that, though, the wake behind him. There are reports that Michigan is getting the best wide receiver room in the country through some recruits. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you get the number 1 recruit in the country, I think that's a great building block.
At quarterback.
Yeah. It was kind of like in 2021 when Michigan gets J.J. McCarthy, 5-star quarterback. And he was kind of the linchpin. He was the absolute best recruiter they had, better than Harbaugh or any coach could have been. He
delivered the program.
He had an incredible personality, just a great leader, and he recruited the class around him and kind of set the stage for everything that was to come. So maybe now it can be the same thing. I mean, certainly the best receivers in the country are going to want to play. At least going to consider Michigan. I mean, Ohio State kind of has it cornered on just getting pretty much stockpiling all the best receivers, which
they have a good hanger.
Which again makes it all the more puzzling. While you would run up the middle against Michigan's great defensive line behind a weak interior offensive line. Are you kidding me? I thought we agreed to talk about it one more time. I will say, if Tennessee wins, I do want them to plant a flag, just because it would be such a debacle for Ohio State, and just I want the nihilism. I just want pure chaos.
So, part of the rivalry predictions. If you are at home following this advice, you are meeting your mortgage. We can only give one prediction right now. Both of our MAC schools will be playing on December 26th, and Michigan plays Alabama on New Year's Eve. So all we have is Ohio State versus Tennessee. Final thoughts or predictions, Dave?
I think if Ohio State just plays its B game, I would say Ohio State 21-13. I think it's going to be a little bit mucked up. I think Ohio State has some success through the air this time. I think they're going to be a little more creative. Tennessee does have a great defense, but I like so much of it just comes down to having a great start. Tennessee has been notoriously slow starting this year. I think they've been outscored 30-24 in the first
half
quarter.
The Buckeyes.
30-24 the last 8 games, and Ohio State has been absolutely awful in the first quarter all year, averaging 6.3 points. I think only 3 points in the last 3 first quarters. So, especially with the way the winds are blowing with the fans, I would not recommend a scoreless first quarter. I think that'll just ratchet up the booze, ratchet up the pressure. It'll become a very volatile, tense place. Phil will not be throwing anything, but I think you'll be making your frustration very clear.
Get the news to Ryan Day. The recommendation is to score in the first quarter.
What's your prediction?
I think it's also going to be low scoring. I think our defense has weirdly become the leader of this iteration of Ohio State
at the moment.
At this moment, so I look for them to wrestle a win from our sputtering offense, which I still don't have great confidence in. So I have written down the score of 23-17.
Okay.
So that, maybe our field goal kicker either helps us get to 23 or, misses. Yeah. Maybe there's some safeties in there, double safety game.
I guess to Ohio State's credit, the offense and defense haven't really pointed the fingers at each other. I mean, after the Oregon game, the offense could have said, "Hey, we did our part. Defense sucks." And then obviously the other way around, the defense certainly did its part, and the offense sucks. And I know they had been reports there was very heated meeting after the Ohio State-Michigan game, players and coaches just kind of airing it out. And I think the players even
as they should have.
Even went at the coaches, just kind of saying, "What the hell was that?" But I mean, generally speaking, but it's good to clear the air. I mean,
it is, especially in an emotional, performative act such as football.
We get in knockdown, drag out fights with our bosses all the time.
I did want to at one time, if something went well at work, I thought you should be allowed to do touchdown celebration.
Yeah, for sure.
Do a little Dion prancing,
definitely
stuff like that.
Right.
Okay, this has been another outstanding episode of The Heart of the Rivalry. He's Dave Briggs. I'm Phil Kaplan. We will see you after an Ohio State playoff victory, or we will sing the reasons why. And we'll wobble in our shoes. No singing this time? What do you got?
Want to go back? Gotta go back to old Ohio town.
These Blade Vault pictures are cool.
I know. For sure.
They're not just photos. They're like these, graphic
Let's read
design.
That special offer code again.
BV20.
All
Get
right.
20% off your first order at thebladevault.com.
Let's go.